Welcome back to the Wizard Shop. It's finally time again to get some updates on the yacht. You guys have been leaving comments in the comment section saying, where are we at on the yacht? I've made some headway on the back and we're going to start test fitting another object. Let's get started. Well, I got this old chair that we talked about in the recent tables and cart video. I figured why not use it? So I've been using it back here on the back of the yacht. And it actually is very comfortable.
It looks it.
Yeah, it's actually very nice. So these are the yokes that hold these little shells. I call them shells. They actually go in, and this is where the outdrive mounts. It allows it to go up and down, left and right. And there's lots of different components and pieces and things that are inside of here. I mentioned before on a previous yacht video that I was surprised how much stuff is crammed into a tiny little spot here. So as you can see, that one is assembled. It's got the trim sensors on it. It's got the shift cable installed. It's got all the bellows and pipes and everything, the water inlet hose and everything all installed. That one's ready to have an outdrive put in. And now I'm working on this one. So in order to put this shell inside of here, you first have to get things ready to accept the shell. And it's like these trim sensors here. They go on the outside of the yokes. And the little star-shaped pattern actually fits into the bolt that holds the shell on right here. And that just sends a signal up to gauges up on the helm that show you where are the outdrives currently located. In a previous video, I showed you guys how those were destroyed. The wires were completely severed and frayed, and the sensors, one of them was just missing. So this guy was, whoever had it before me, was operating this thing without even knowing where his outdrives. I guess you could just stand on back of the boat and take a look. I wouldn't want to do that going 20 knots across the lake, though. But in order to get this shell in here, I have to run this shift cable all the way through the hole that's right there and into the engine room, I guess you call it. And there's a bellows here that gets secured to the mount. That keeps water from getting into the boat. There's also a very large bellow that goes here, which looks like this. The outdrive actually goes, let me actually open it so you can see it. The outdrive actually goes through this, the shaft, the drive shaft, I guess you can say, into the back of the engine. And this allows it to flex and move around without water getting into the back of the engine room. You don't want water in the boat, that's a bad thing. But this gets secured here with clamps and secured there with clamps. There normally would be a bellows at the bottom for the exhaust. That's actually where the exhaust goes through. But several of you guys commented about a special type of a bellows that I have already installed here. It's basically just a boot. It does clamp to the boat itself back here on the mount, but it doesn't clamp into this. When you're just idling around with these at a normal trim, it just fits over this snout here. And the exhaust goes out like normal. But if you are hauling across the lake, this opens up and it allows exhaust to freely flow, and it lets also the cooling water and stuff come out. So I went ahead and went that route with the exhaust. You can see here that this would just fit over this snout here. The next thing that goes in here is the actual water pickup. Like I said, I was going to draw water through these, but not necessarily use the impeller in the outdrive. So this is basically like a heater hose. And it fits right here, which on this side you can see there is a port for water to come up through the outdrive and into here. And this goes up top with a little plastic fitting. It was tough to get on that side. I was afraid I was going to break the plastic fitting, but luckily I got it on, put the clamp on, and everything went well. But it's quite a bit of doing to get this together. It's not like you just zip a couple of bolts on and you're done. Like I just mentioned, there's so much stuff to hook up in here before this goes together. And you don't want to get in a hurry because you miss a clamp or you miss something and then you take the boat out and water starts coming in. We really don't want that. So I'll get this finished up and start putting this one on. That one's already done. And then the next step after those two things are done is to actually insert the out drives and start putting that all back together. Let's go take a look at that side over there. Thanks for the push, Mrs. Wizard.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, now that we've readjusted, you can see this one's assembled and ready to go. There's the shift cable, it's ran. I just need to hook the little fitting or the linkage or whatever you call it goes on the end here. The trim sensors are installed. It did take a special tool I had to order. And it is this weird, it's like a 13 point or something really strange. It's not standard tools that you have in your toolbox. But it fits on the side, and you put the bolt through that holds the shell on. It could not be done without buying this tool. I had to break down and buy it, which really wasn't that expensive. But you can see the bellow in here. It's all installed. So I can reach my hand through and I can touch the bearing that's there. We also have this hooked up for water intake, and our exhaust is hooked up. So now we could put the out drive on and hook the hydraulic rams back up. It will allow it to move up and down and left and right. So as you steer, it can go left and right. If you want to change your trim, it can go up and down. You can see the nice, good used stainless steel braided hydraulic lines I put on. I showed you guys the old ones were frayed. I'm surprised they didn't burst. But this one's almost ready for the out drive. I need to get that one assembled and get it ready for the out drive, and then in the next video we'll be putting out drives on the back of the boat. Now I've got the water reservoir or water tank in. Let's hop on up and actually test fit it and see what kind of hoses or changes or things am I going to have to make it work. So here we have the nice new reservoir that I purchased. If you watched the previous videos when we pulled the old one out, it was basically like a sewage tank. Even though it was supposed to hold clean, fresh water, it was holding something I don't want to speak of. It's really nasty. You might want to go back and check that out if you want to see how bad it was. It was really bad. I could have cleaned it and maybe reused it, but after I dumped out the contents, I was like, yeah, nope, I'm not reusing that thing. It's disgusting. So I got this nice new one. We're going to kind of test fit it and see, did I order something that's going to work or not? And how am I going to tie in all the lines and fittings. So let's go ahead and lay it down in the hole. So it's a little smaller than the last one I had, which is fine. We don't need 5,000 gallons for a couple of 3 people. I can mount this in with some pieces of wood that'll hold it in place and keep it steady. This is where you would fill the water and it would come into the tank. I'm going to have to figure out a way to put a small elbow. It goes into the inlet here. I'll move this back so you guys can see. Here's the inlet with the red cap. Then there's 3 outlets that I can use to pull from. So one of these outlets will have to come out in an elbow and around. Push it back up there. To this guy. This is a water pressure pump that I purchased, and it's 40 psi, which is what the original pump was. I can mount this back here and run the lines to it. It can draw water from the reservoir and supply it to all of our fixtures in the boat. So it looks like I'm going to have to adapt that down to the size of this reservoir. Have an elbow going to that, a couple of elbows coming out of the feed line coming from the reservoir to the pump, and then if we look through here, there's my bilge pump I've already installed in a previous video. This is going to be going next to it, right around in here, because my water lines are there. So I'll be able to pull water from the reservoir and supply it to the lines to the rest of the boat. So I've got 1, 2, 3 connections to make, which shouldn't be too hard. I just need to figure out what sizes, what types of threads, what type of fittings, and start going to the hardware store and seeing what I can find. So I'll get going on getting the out drives ready to install for the next video. I'll get this plumbed in for the next video. Let's go ahead and see where Mrs. Wizard is at.
Hey everyone, back in the mid-cabin, Traded Places with the Wizard here. I've been busy with the curtains, and if you looked back here, you might have noticed when Wizard was in here, there's some curtains hanging out. And I've got 2. There's the one. Here's the second one. And they kind of run on a channel. They run like on an I-beam channel with little rollers on them. They work pretty good. Now these are the same material that we've seen with the other curtains that we've done in the boat already. So they should be nice and light canceling. They look like they seal pretty well. The person who may get to sleep here may need to have a few clothespins just to make sure their eyes are not opening up to this sun that's definitely going to shine in on them. But they did well. I did take some of your suggestions in the comments and used elastic on the back. It's definitely a little bit hard to see, but they are running on a little bit of elastic and they are kind of a little bit stretchy. So over time, and they have a little bit of give. So you can kind of see they kind of are a little stretchy. There's some elastic hanging out there. So that kind of helped get them in place. One of the hardest parts to sew because I had no pattern. Literally, I'm trying to measure and guess, and it was tough. These were challenging. I was scared I was going to get them wrong, but this was the hardest. Over here, these have snaps, and I'm not the best seamstress. That's why I'm an art teacher, not a seamstress. But it does cover, and if you're not wanting this up, it's just as easy to unsnap them. Now, I did have to replace all of the snap pieces, and I obviously installed these snaps on here because these were coated in about 3 layers of paint. People before me, and I'll be honest, I painted over them too, but I knew I could replace them when I was painting, so it was not a big deal. So this snaps into place and can be taken down, so that's been working really good. Now the other thing, as a boat that's constantly moving and swaying, and there's not much storage in here. My SL500 had more storage than this thing does, I feel. I mean, there are spaces behind the seats and under the seats. Not so much here. Every space is pretty well taken. But I did come up with a few cool ideas. Let me show you. So one thing on a boat, it'd be nice to have things to hang things, but you don't want hooks sticking out everywhere. So I found these really cool hooks that can pull out. And if you've got your fun beach bag, okay, carrying your kids' treasured squishmallow, you definitely don't want those to be rolling around and getting gross. So here's these hooks that can easily hold things as the boat is moving, swaying. It's not going to go anywhere. Can put that up. If there's damp towels, they can hang here as well. And I found these off Amazon, just screwed in place, and they stay there. There's a little bit of, you can tell, friction there, kind of to pull it down, so they do stay in the up position all the time. Now I've got several of them, because when I bought it, I didn't get just 2, it came as a pack, so I put the rest of them around some other places too. So let me show you where some others are. So in addition, I was thinking, where would be a logical place to put these? And one is if this one was down, I thought nobody's going to be walking in this corner. So I put one here. Thought this could be a nice spot to hang something, either a bag or a towel. Okay, got one up here as well. And again, just slides up and down. So another really cool spot for people that be putting, their own personal things. But I've got more. Let's go look at those. So I've had the Wizard a little busy today. Like he has me working on under cars. He's got the camera on today. So he's been kind of moving around, shifting places today. But hopefully he's doing a good job. The other spot is in some of the storage areas. So this is kind of like the closet, and there's currently a mop and a broom in there. But again, another spot where you could put another hook. And luckily, it can close with the door. So I thought that was a nice spot. In case you have something more utilitarian, it can go there as well. And then another one is in this area where you can see the channel where a curtain can go. And I promise there's going to be a curtain here. I just haven't had a chance to get it done yet. And I promise there's also going to be color. And that's where we're going to add some color as well for the boat. Because I know it's been lots of gray so far, but I promise color is coming. But there's also another hook here as well. And so again, another spot where we can do a little bit more organized storage. Got one more, and that's in the head. It's a little different this time. Let's go take a peek. So now it's just me in the head because the wizard couldn't hold the camera and me both be in here. It's too small. But I did purchase these really fun. This one sticks out. This one sticks out. And it's like, okay, that's great. But what do we do with that? Well, it also came with a bar. Let me get that. And this bar sets on each side to make a little bit of a hanger. And I could put clothes hangers on there. I could just drape some wet swimsuits on it. I could put a towel over it. And it might be a little inconvenient because if we go down, that is where the toilet's going to be. So that probably won't be the most convenient, but we're not probably going to be using the bathroom all the time. I really hope we're not in the toilet all the time, but this was a spot that we could at least hang items. And again, as long as this bar isn't on here, I can take it off and still access this cabinet. So not the most perfect for storage, but they're at least something that can be done. And again, you just push that up and they just will always settle right there. So easy storage additions to our yacht.
So thanks for following along on some updates on the yacht. We are making some headway. It's just been slow going because like I mentioned in the last video, as soon as we can get 2 cars done, 4 more show up. And it's getting to the point where in the future I may have to hire another mechanic. But so far we're able to keep afloat and get everything done. It's just very, very hectic. It doesn't leave much time for yachts, but we are getting there. We will get there. If you're looking for the hooks that Mrs. Wizard showed inside the yacht or any of the tools we use inside the shop, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. They're all listed for sale there and we get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button already, I really recommend you do that now because there's many more cool projects in the works and more cars coming. Tons of more cars coming for work. Thanks for watching.